Hello everyone! Today we are doing a new feature roundup for 3D Canvas 3.5 stable. We are gonna look at all the changes that have been done to 3D Canvas during this the latest prototype period and see all the new stuff. So, a lot of the changes are related to tiles. You can see that now in your map making compendium, you will have these basic shapes with a lot of options that are going to be quite useful for the new features. Mainly, we're going to use just a couple of these, but you have multiple options here. So, first things first, we have our basic cube for shaders flat, and let's use it to see what this new stuff does. So I'm just gonna drop it in and place it here. So first things first, a new thing is that now the scaling correctly works, so you can scale vertically now. And let's go into the tile configuration because there is a lot of new stuff. So if you open this and you were in the previous table, you will see that there's been a bit of a reorganization. So we have the vision section here. This was there before as well. But now we have the tiling section, which is also the same as before, but now we have the new shaders and terrain. Let's look at the terrain first. So the terrain will give you like a couple of options for the noise you want to apply. Generally, you can use simplex and it will mostly do the job. So we can hit apply and you will see that our cube here has been distorted with a terrain. And you can at this point fiddle with the sliders to get the terrain you want. So if I apply, now I have just kind of a rolling hills kind of thing. And let me apply a texture so that we can see better what's going on here. There is the new material browser, so if you have the map making compendium installed, you will see this new button near the texture. You can click it and it will give you all the material options that there are available in the compendium. So let's find the ground and let's apply this. Okay, now that we have like a ground to play with, we can see better what's going on here. We're gonna set a texture repeat so that it's not too low res. And there we go. Now we have like some kind of terrain and you can basically play with the sliders to get the result you want. You can have some flattening at the top. You can have like the exponent will give you a flatter bottom. So you have like a flat base and then the peaks, as you can see here. And you have the octaves here that you can change. Some of the sliders will seem, as you can see, like it looks like they do nothing, but they may interact with other sliders as well. So it's a bit of fiddling to get the terrain you want. Anyways, you can get all kinds of terrains with this. And I will use this moment to show you also some of the new shaders. So, this is the terrain, you can fiddle with it and do kind of whatever you want. Let's say we put the height to a very... I mean, this is maybe a bit too high. There we go. So, we see that there is like a problem, which is that the textures are stretched when there is like too much verticality. You can see in a lot of these points we have stretched textures. So now we are gonna look to the shaders, and we have some animation shaders we're gonna look at later, but since we are here, we're gonna look at the new 3 planar mapping. What this does is, as you can see, it kind of fixes the stretching of the texture. Depending on some factors, it might change the repetition slightly, so you can adjust the repetition and set it a bit back, but it will basically project the texture in a different way so that you don't have the stretching. if you have a scene, like a terrain or whatever, that doesn't really need this because you do not have like this huge gaps in height in a short span of space, you can leave it disabled, but it's an option that you can use. And there we go. So let's drop the height a bit down and let's launch one of the new macros so that we can play with the terrain. So we go into the 3D canvas macros and we have a macro to stretch this tile, and whoops, and now we have our tile stretched to the scene. So we can play a bit with it and I can show you the new stuff. Let's go on with the new stuff. I'm gonna go into nature and drop some of these trees. Let's pick up this tree and let's do some stuff with it. So let's set it to the repeat. We'll give it a scale of probably like 4. Let's apply, and then we make the space bigger here. This does not have a preview when stretching because it would be extremely expensive to do. And now we go to the tiling and we give it like random rotation, scale, depth, position, color, and we apply. And now we have a bunch of trees. We give it some gap so it's not like too many trees. I guess something like 4 should be enough. And let's make it larger so it's more... Okay, so you will notice that of course the trees do not match the terrain because the terrain is not flat. We have a new option. So in the tiling you will see there is a gravity now, and we have both gravity and surface rotation. So let's see gravity, we apply, and now the trees will stick to the terrain. Now, if for some reason you need to match the orientation of the terrain, we have this second option, and as you can see, the trees will match the direction of the terrain. Of course, this is terrible for trees, but it might be useful for something else. So let's stick to the gravity only, and now we can see what the new shaders do. We have the wind shader, so we're gonna apply this, and now you can see that our trees are blowing in the wind. And you can change some wind direction, the intensity, and in general create a very nice motion effect on your scene. Now let's go on to some other shader, which is the water shader and the distortion shader. So go back to the basic shapes, we grab another basic cubes for shader flat, and I guess we can also grab a transparent one. So what this does, let's see the distortion first. So I'm gonna scale this up a bit. And if we go into 3D and we go into the shaders, we have the distortion shader here. And if I apply it, now you will not see it that much because it's completely white. So distortion, in my opinion, goes very well with lava. So let's grab this lava 4. And now we can change this subtle movement to be a bit more pronounced, and you can see that the tile is kind of moving. Give it some repeat. Now it's way more noticeable. So yes, if you look it from above, where you should look at lava from, you see that there is like movement. If you want, there is like a different distortion method that kind of creates a different effect, as you can see, and it gives it this kind of motion basically. It's pretty neat. Then we will move on to the other shader, which is the water shader. So let's bring this up, and we will just set a basic texture. I'm gonna go into my Forgotten Adventures, natural textures, water. I'm just gonna grab this. So now we have water, and we're gonna apply the water shader, and there we go. Now the water will start moving. You can tweak some of the parameters, more height, more waves. There is also a speed slider that's currently missing, but it's gonna be in the version you're gonna use to make the waves go faster. So this is our water shader, and you can of course move, not this one, you can move this water around and place it wherever you want to create like some water effect. So let's say this thing here was bigger, so let's bump the height a bit. There we go. Now unfortunately our trees are under the, so we're gonna need to move them up for them to work correctly. And if we go back to this, we can run again the stretch to scene, and you can have like some kind of water world island place. I mean, don't mind the trees, but you know, this is basically a very simple way to do some water kind of battle scene. And there we go. So let's go next to see any other new feature that were added. We have the new height map feature, and you can check that in the specific video, but what it does, you can load a texture and it will use it to determine like how high every point of the tile is. Then we will move to something else. So let's take our lava here and move it up, because I'm gonna use it to show you something else. And let's stretch to scene. There we go. So now I'm gonna show you the new bloom effect. So we have some new stuff in the scene. One of them being the bloom. So we can enable bloom. There are some sliders here. The scene will reload, and whoops. And you can see that now we have like this bloom effect. Of course, at the moment, I do believe I did set it to be a bit too strong. But basically the lava will illuminate, like kind of make this fake light around it. This scene is not the best one to show you, but if I go to the crypt that I've mangled with lava and other stuff, you can see that here the effect is way more noticeable. As you can see, the lava is casting light. Okay, so back to our water scene. We can see the rest of the new stuff that's been added to the scene configuration, and that is mostly related to lighting. So the system which decides the lighting has been changed. Now you have a slider that just tells you the time of day, and you can change it, and as you can see the sun changes. It's basically the same as before, but I changed the units. So now if you're probably gonna need to tweak this in the scene settings, because it's gonna use some very high value instead. We also now have this new exposure slider. As you can see, it will make the scene more night or more day, which is a way better. It's a better way to control the lighting, in my opinion, opposed to the stuff that we had before. We also have some extra stuff that you can find in here. For example, you can tilt the sun now, so the shadows are not always horizontal. And you can set the sun distance if you want. A new thing is we have the automatic lighting that now should work better. So let's try the sync. So this I'm using small time, and when I change the time of day, you can see that it changes the sun position. Now there is one thing that you should make sure that it's set correctly. So if you set a small time to also do the darkness control, when you change this, it will also change the exposure of the scene, making the night-day transition more, as you can see, more realistic. Now we are truly at night, and then the sun goes up. Yeah, so a way better day-night cycle, basically. And while we are talking about lighting, let's get the lighting a bit down. I can show you the new stuff for the lights. So if I add a new light here, now we have the light animations. So let's set it to torch. Let's give it this orange color, up the intensity. You can see that now our light does indeed glow with this torch effect. Let's try to get a better angle with all these trees. And also, we also have the pulse that's working. And this will try to match the Foundry light. And then we have one other, which is the chroma. Now, in default Foundry, chroma will basically do this RGB light. In 3D Canvas, it works slightly different. It will use the two colors that you have set here. So if I want my light to go from green to like blue, now I have my light. And if you set in the animation the intensity to be above 5, it will use a different method of changing colors. So let me demonstrate. So for the first color, I'm gonna choose this, and the second I'm gonna choose, well, this is kind of the same. Let's see if this works. I'm not entirely sure. But it will basically use the HLS values to change the color. So if you go above certain intensity, it will go through the color, through all the colors in between, as you can see. These are the only 3 lighting animations that are supported. The other ones will simply not work. Unfortunately, I can only do so much stuff with 3D. It doesn't have like the... I cannot do like light shaders. So you can use this plus particle effects, and you can probably create a lot of very nice effects. And to close off, we're gonna check the new settings, because some stuff has changed. Especially in this area. So now we have some of the performance options were removed, especially you will not see the resolution. If you want to lower resolution, you can use the core settings, which is disable pixel resolution scaling. If you enable this, you will get a lower resolution and better performance. Then we have the new soft shadows option. This is enabled by default. It should not be super expensive, but keep in mind that you can disable it if you want. We have the shadow quality, and we no longer have the disable shadows, because instead we have disabled inside the shadow quality. So if you need to disable shadows, you can disable it here. And then we have the new anti-aliasing. So by default, it's going to be FXAA, which is the cheapest, but it's a bit more blurrish. Then you can use the SMAA, which is a bit more expensive, but will give you a better result, or you can just disable it if aliasing is not a problem on your specific device. Thanks for watching. This has been a roundup of the new features of 3D Canvas 3.5 Stable, and I hope you enjoy and see you next time.